Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Cornerstone Chat. Angela?
Okay, good morning, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Angela Smith, the Executive Director of the Cornerstone Community Development Corporation, located in Fort Heights, Illinois. Cornerstone is working in partnership with the state of Illinois on its Healing Illinois program, an innovative way to hopefully address the racial inequality and social unrest in a meaningful and productive way. The goals of Healing Illinois are to promote dialogue, supporting and facilitating conversations that build connections, understandings, and empathy within and across communities. Encouraging collaboration, people coming together in person or virtually to connect and engage in racial healing activities, like today's discussion. And facilitate learning, engaging in projects that build and or enhance an understanding of racial injustice. I'd like to give a special thanks to Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., who is our featured guest today, and thank Yvonne Orr for moderating today's discussion. We also hope that there will be time for Q&A at the end of the discussion. Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith, for that. I'm going to remove you from the broadcast. We'll bring you back at the end for closing remarks. And thank you very much to you and your agency, as well as Healing in Illinois, for this opportunity. Chairman Fred.
My sister.
It is so wonderful for us to meet again. I'm slightly disappointed that we're not able to do this in person, but circumstances don't allow, but definitely glad that I have my brother here with me on the momentous occasion of celebrating the life of your father, the Chairman Fred Hampton.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about some of the work that you're doing now as it relates to what we've seen on screen. I mean, I'm hearing Oscar-worthy buzz for Judas and the Black Messiah. Tell us about your work in the community right now.
Right on. First and foremost, I'm honored and humbled to be here. Panther Cub love to you.
Panther Cub love, brother.
Yes, indeed. I'm literally sitting in the childhood home of Chairman Fred Hampton, the house in which he grew up in. This is one of the major campaigns that we the Black Panther Party Cubs have been engaged in to save and we've up the energy to save and maintain the house in which Chairman Fred grew up in. Let me preface with this first. Let me extend a clenched fist salute to the people. Been an uphill battle for the ongoing support in which we were able to cover a milestone and in regards to securing a home, Chairman Fred. But again, we got a lot more work to do. Our survival programs that we have been doing prior to the campaign to save the house, such as the Triple C's, Children, Community, and Cubs, which we doing the spirit of the Black Panther Party Free Breakfast Program. We have those programs literally right here every Saturday in particular. In fact, expect people to be coming back around 2:00 tomorrow for the free clothes programs we have. We definitely do not negate a major aspect of our work there, the clarion call to free all political prisoners. I've been fortunate. I'm gonna say fortunate and unfortunate, because it's unfortunate we have to have this conversation, but fortunate to be on the battlefield in regards to campaigns and people who've been held captive in these concentration camps. That are the Mumia Abu Jamal's, the Move 9. I'm just reminiscing, flashbacking right now. I was even with your father's release, the touchdown before making the physical transition, to touch down with him, but before he got out, to be involved in that work, and that's an honor. That's an honor. And the Sunday out in Colas, there's so many, and we're not satisfied because there's so many others who are still held captive that we're still fighting for. And also, a lot of times people say, well, Chairman, I hear you address the issue about the police killing us, but what about situations within our own community? And I say, well, just because you don't see it on the press don't mean that we don't deal with it. So we literally turn the communities into classrooms. Our work hours are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop. So that's basically in We say in a nutshell, or better yet, from a jail cell, the work that we are honored to do in regards to our people. We're an international organization. I just came back from Oakland, California this past February 17th, commemoration for a street sign for Minister U.E.P. Newton. And these are not just campaigns for street signs, whatever, also to fight, this kind of goes to the conversation about the movie also, to fight to make the legacy, because the legacy is more important than our life. So we draw a correlation. We're not fighting in a reactionary sense. We're fighting in the continuation of one of the most revolutionary organizations the world has witnessed. And we say, those are tough act to follow. We intend to walk not in the footsteps, but the Panther Paul steps of the Black Panther Party.
That's right. So speaking on that, let's talk about what continuation looks like. What do you think our community would look like now had your father not been murdered, had his now legacy been able to continue on? He died, or shall I say was killed at such a young age. You know, most of us don't even know where we're going at the age of 21, and yet he had a legacy that was formed at a young age from a nationwide movement. As we know, the Black Panther Party was a nationwide effort, and it is interesting how that, you know, may play out. What are your thoughts on that? Where would we be now if Chairman Fred Sr. would be alive?
I dare not attempt to throw a lid on that conversation where we could possibly be. The sky's the limit. But and also, however, I'm also reminded, even with our day-to-day work as we speak now, I just commented about this a few days ago. The vanguard, the leadership can go as far as we can. We have to keep in mind the conditions of the people. Though we can engage in idealism, what we would like to do, we have to take into account the counterinsurgency, the attack, because our struggles do not go unmolested, unharassed. Our people do not go unharassed. I mean, the different dynamics from chemical, biological warfare, the crack cocaine that's placed in our community, destabilizing of our movements. There are highs and lows in regards to struggles. I definitely would acknowledge that Chairman Fred, still be, organizing, assessing what's phenomenal. At certain stages in the community, and in the words of Minister U.E.P. Newton, defining that phenomenon and making it act in the desired manner, and that being matter the interests of the people.
And then when you talk about the community as a classroom, what does that mean? You know, how do you teach from the streets, so to speak?
We wed, married, theory and practice. We struggle against some people just say it's just some people take the position just limited to just theory, just engaged in a theoretical segment. We, in fact, you become a member of our organization, the Black Panther Party Cubs. We say there's a certain amount of Cub community service that you have to do, that you have to put it to the test under contested conditions. And we are servants of the people, so we have to go out there. We have to deal with the good, the bad, and the ugly. We do not have ideal conditions we can pick up and say, "Well, I just want to deal with this situation." And we have to assess the reality, in the conditions of our people in different stages in the game. And sometimes, in many cases, we have to deal with reactionary elements, and these are not ideal elements. People, sometimes I've been asked, "How many members do you have in your organization?" I said, "Well, sometimes it depends on how many people the police have murdered, because certain, and this is something the organizer has to take into account. This is not just something unique within our community. Contrary to what many people have been told, that the position that in regards to the American Revolution, that Patrick Henry said, everyone took the sentiments of "give me liberty, give me death." They really more related to what Thomas Jefferson said. 1/3 was for it, 1/3 was against it, and 1/3 went whichever way the wind blew. And that's the reality. You have to have consistent forces, and we were saying. We look at that template. We look at the template of the Black Panther Party. You have such forces. Chairman Fred, Defense Captain Mark Clark, Minister of Culture Chuckles. I'm sure you know.
No. Let's take a moment. We're gonna do a brief moment. Who is Minister Chuckles?
We talk about the Black Panther Party. We would be remiss if we do not tie in you put it in context of the time, and I want to say this: every organization, every community had contradictions, but you talking about the time where people wondered if Pat Nixon, who was the wife of President Richard Milhouse Nixon, if she was able to speak, physically able to speak. They didn't even know this. You talking about the time that predated the upcoming TV shows like Leave It to Beaver. You talking about a revolutionary organization, the Black Panther Party, that dealt with the contradictions, what I'm saying, not only the race, but the class contradiction, gender contradiction, and not in a reactionary way. Not there was sisters in rank and file leadership. Minister Chuck was one of those forces, you know what I'm saying, and not in an affirmative action sort of way. Not to say, well, people not just brought and say, okay, we have women in these positions. Putting in concrete work. Again, this is a part of, you had to like I talk to people, the Chicago branch, but the Illinois chapter, and you know what I'm saying, you amongst that you had such forces as Minister of Culture, Chokos. You had, you know what I'm saying, your mother, for those viewers who may not know, Minister of Health, Doc Satchel. There was a structured accountability that people, I recall in Ireland. And I remember, I think it was Bernadette Devlin with the Irish Republican Army, and she said something, and she remembered those titles and those names of these individuals, and this accountability, and it was checks and balances. It wasn't just based on you, my friend. It was a structured organization, and you know what I'm saying, and where people, a lot of times people like to romanticize revolution, that that was beautiful, Black people just together. There was checks and balances. There was, who was our Minister of Health? Who was our, you know what I'm saying, had to know, you know what I'm saying, okay, I did a miseducation. You know what I'm saying? Miseducation, Che, I'm a Minister of Culture, Chokos. And these were not positions of just some sort of ego trip. These are positions of, again, checks and balances, accountability, and being, it says, what's your take our best talents and apply them, as opposed to what we see in our community in so many cases, or they call it Africa, like the brain drain, where they take our talents and our best of our talents, and they make them work in the interest of the bourgeoisie or the ruling class. The Black Panther Party had a structured organization, and it was for, again, we say, okay, bring your skills you got, and say, how can we make them applicable? You know what I'm saying? And then it also having checks and balances, and Minister Chuckles stood amongst that. You know what I'm saying? Amongst it. And it's, again, not in a way. It's just, there wasn't a way we say we got women here. I mean, we say contested conditions. Contested conditions. And she, amongst others, you know what I'm saying, I just want to say this real, there's no way, I was talking about this in regards to the movie, I said, there's no way that you can detail struggles, the underbelly that comes with struggle, you know what I'm saying, being underground, being on the run, you know what I'm saying, being, Tupac talked about his mother couldn't get employment. These are not the images you like to have people like to relate to with the leather jackets and berets, but these are the struggles. These are the contradictions. And we see who is who under these contested conditions. And the forces such as these, Minister Chuckles, Minister of Health, Doc Satchel, some of the others, the Black Panther Party, they were not, we would not like to refer to them as role models, but real models.
That's right. That's right. I want to take a moment and delve into the struggles of that time, particularly for the women. You and I both, with our historic parentage, we know of those struggles because we're raised in those struggles. I, for one, was born outside of this country in Canada because my mother, Minister Chuckles, was on the run at the time. Because of all of the raids and police harassment, she wanted to be assured that I would be born safely. And I'm grateful for that, obviously, because I'm here today talking to my other brother, also born out of the struggle just a few short months after your own father was murdered. I did notice there is a Black woman on the wall with what appears to be a mugshot. I, for one, know her as Mama Akua. But tell us a little bit more about, that jail type picture. What is that mugshot, and who is that person?
My first jail experience, they refer to as your cellmate, or cellie, was Mama Akua, then known as Deborah Johnson.
Oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt. We got to do this real quickly. We are now being joined by the one Minister of Confrontation and Security, having the title of my own father before her, Delbert or Africa. Pam Africa, we're giving you a shout out. On the move, Auntie. I love you.
On the move. On second thought, man, I need my coffee. Both all this energy on here to wake up. I'm good. I'm good.
Yes. Also, Baba Zaid, another Panther brother on Newark. We're gonna give him a shout out too. So please excuse the interruption, but we have to pay homage to our own. Yes, doubt. Sir. Continue.
No doubt. That was my first cellmate. The robe she has on, that's actually Chairman Fred's robe. And this is ours, not even ours. This was shortly after the assassination of Chairman Fred in Defense Captain Mark Clark, early morning, December the 4th. Those are his slippers that she have on. She's 8.5 months pregnant at the time, and I speak about it. When she was taken out of the room, after covering down of her comrade, and feeling the bullets come through the mattress. When she's taken out of the room, the police had placed a pistol to her stomach, and I speak about it. The first prenatal care that I had received, as opposed to a doctor's stethoscope with the Chicago Police Department's revolver, placed on my mother's pregnant belly, and she was taken. Along with others, December 4th, locked up. And I think even with us, people I told someone about Tupac and how his mother's pregnant was when she's pregnant with him locked up, and it's so many. Sometimes it's like the norm in our community for us in regards to freedom fighters. And I think it's a climb at a time we have to seize to be able to put it in the correct political context. I recall being in El Salvador, and I remember a situation where the children were going to this event, but they called it the Wall, and they was referencing this the conflict, and they was even euthanizing what happened in El Salvador. They were saying the conflict because it hurts. Saying it's like the brutal atrocity, the reality goes down. And I remember a situation where a lot of the mothers and fathers were just coming with each other, and they were just revealing their actual names to each other. And people were like, wow, that's something that your mother didn't know your father's actual name. And outside, without taking into context what was going on, you can have all type of reactionary response, like, man, what type of woman was your mother? What type of guy was your father? But the deal is that the counterinsurgency, the attack was so intense, agent provocateurs were so was flooded so hard, it was so common that that people had to take this into account, even with even giving aliases to dealing with people. And some people say, well, they just shouldn't even deal with each other. Okay, that's in the utopia of the real world, in the dream world sounds good. But these are some of the brutal struggles that people cannot really grasp, but we have to struggle for at least minimum respect. That and when we're talking. I recall talking to people at different interviews, and I kind of went off on the thing. Just think about this picture, though.
It's all right. It's understandable. It's your mother.
And the sister asked for some. She was like asking for these pictures and stuff. And one of the comrades in the Black Panther Party had reference to, you say, we weren't doing all that. You had to take into context what this was, and the interviewer really could not understand that. You know what I'm saying?
Work, no time for.
And even so busy fighting, you can be flicking, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people have no frame of reference of just even that, you know what I'm saying? Like even the names underground and the context of being a revolution, a revolution, how it impacts every aspect of our life, and even going to jail. I talked to a sister, she was yesterday, she just got on, and she commented when she heard about me being locked up the first time, she like, oh, what he done did? And she's related to them of the Black Panther Party. Mm-hmm. And what we're deprived of, and we're fighting to get back, is there was an understanding during that climate. There was an understanding when forces were on the run underground. the community, you know what I'm saying, relationship, okay, open the doors, you know, that was spray painted, scorched earth, you know what I'm saying, places where Sada, they said, Sada, you're welcome to come here. That was a dynamic of, you don't ask certain questions and you understand, need to know basis. That was a climate of we under attack. We under attack. Right. And that was a climate even if you didn't agree with it, that you respect it. Even like that was our contradiction within our families, and our families say, oh, I'm not up with that, but it was acknowledged. The seriousness of what this struggle was, and we're fighting for that because even our movements have been like minimized intentions, like jokes or what have you, or just some sideline. But this is real.
Right?
This is real deal reality. You know what I'm saying? This is the prison. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the assassinations. You know what I'm saying? And these are real deal realities that we must acknowledge when we talk about struggle.
I'm gonna do a cut and show a clip from this movie that I was speaking of, Judas and the Black Messiah. I know that you had a role in it. Let's look at this trailer very quickly.
Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois Black Panther Party.
Repeat after me. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary.
You're looking at 18 months for the stolen car, 5 years for impersonating a federal officer, or you can go home.
The Black Panthers are forming a rainbow coalition of oppressed brothers and sisters of every color.
Their aim is to sow hatred and inspire terror.
I will learn all that I can.
These ain't no terrorists.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. You can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom. I'm gonna die for the people because I live for the people. I live for the people because I love the people.
Just wow, wow, and wow. Of course, I'm emotional, obviously, looking at the trailer. Tell us a little bit about the making of Judas and the Black Messiah. A lot of people definitely want to know about the character played as Judas. And then certainly, what role did you play, if you had one, in this film?
There have been a number of overtures, attempts brought to us, and attempts in regards to, books, movies, discussions, and panels, you name about, Chairman Fred, Black Panther Party. And a major issue, a major contradiction has been that of again, a lack of respect, whether it be nefarious or naivety. In other words, with this ill intent or just not knowing, and also in addition, arrogance with ignorance about the Black Panther Party. Something that you don't see, like in regards to legacies of a lot of other entities or organizations. So when we first heard about this, it was kind of like dismissive, like, here we go again. And I'm real strategic about making sure that we vet it before we bring it to our advisory board, our committee. And because again, there are still war wounds, so that we have, and that, just even discussion about this, so I'm real strategic about that. There was just give the backdrop. Forrest Whitaker was talking about doing something, and some people had told him, hey, his son will be the senior. They don't play, so I think he opted to go for greener grass. He went for the movie The Butler. Antoine Fuqua was talking about doing something. Then they were saying it was more about, holding up this lawyer, and people, even family members were telling, you got to talk to his son. And I remember I said to a brother before, I said, Has it dawned on you that he's not contacting me? You know, he said, wow. I see, a lot of times I think we, hold the character, Jack Nicholson's character in the movie A Few Good Men, we can't handle the truth, you know. So a lot of there's a attempt to say let's not get the real deal. So when it went for a while, and we got this, we heard about this discussion was happening. So fast forward, there was even some. So we reached out, and we got word that a few scripts had got brought to us. You know what I'm saying? But before we get to the script, the title, some of the proposed initial titles, we said no go. One of the titles that sticks out of my mind was Jesus Was My Homeboy. So that was we said no, that's definitely a no go. So,
what was the title?
Hey, so we say before this, we ain't no discussion about no script, none of that. Just there through the door, we like, man, no go, you know.
No.
That was a barrier. And people go back and look at the timeline. You can see certain dynamics. You can see certain periods. Like even there was a long period where it went for the Untitled Project. You know what I'm saying? On Fred Hampton. That went for a long time. So these are some of the struggles we engaged in. So like even then we got word about the sister who's going to play my mother, who eventually did, Dominique Fishback. And we said, well, we got to meet these people. So and I'm at the same table. And so we want to meet the people behind the scenes. So first it was resistance. Like people like, no, you know, that can't happen. And man, we were being quote unquote courted by other entities too. I think Fox and some more people had brought some tools. And they was like, what do you mean you got to be on the set? What do you mean you got to be? It was like an extremely lack of disrespect, lack of respect. So we told others it's a no-go. So we had the meeting here at the Hampton House, and I recall it was like literally was at the time when no water, no heat, none of that was here. And I remember some script writer, Shaq King, Will Burson, produced Ryan Coogler was here, and I remember when
Ryan Coogler was at the Hampton House.
And he wanted to go to the restroom, and I remember some of my comrades was kind of looking at me like how do we do this? Because there's no running water. There was no running water at the Hampton House. And I said, no. I said, show them the restrooms. And people need to see this reality, what we're dealing with, because a lot of times people see you hear these names, so you think everything is good. And he went to the restroom, he's saying it. And we was up front about what's going on here, and the reality is ongoing about what the legacy of Chairman Fred. His tombstone still being shot up annually by law enforcement, other dynamics. And while doing this,
wait a minute, wait, Chairman, you can't just slide and gloss past that. Did you just say that his tombstone is still being shot up annually?
I'm glad you stopped me on that, because I think a mistake that I make, and I'm sure you do too. I think sometimes we do. I asked my mother one time, I said, maybe we kind of subjective. We think that this, that people know about a lot of this stuff, But no, I'm glad his tombstone, where he's buried at in Haynesville, Louisiana, is shot up annually by law enforcement as we speak. This is, again, these are some of the dynamics about and I remember some struggles from years ago. This was around 96, 97. I was still held captive. And Bobby Hutton, who was assassinated April 6, 1968, Oakland, California, his niece, she had proposed we raise she had proposed we raise funds to get a new tombstone. And I struggled against it. And I said, no, I said, I recall saying, no, the Emmett Till move. This has to be put forward. So people have to see this. Why would they go up in the backwoods? You have to do some twists and turns to go up to shoot this tombstone annually. Right. I remember that struggle. And this is done as we speak. Today, as we speak,
we have a viewer. She wants to know. She states that Ryan Coogler is really good at telling our stories, as in us'em. But she wants to know how pleased you are with how he told this important story through the film Judas and the Black Messiah. How pleased were you with the outcome?
Let me preface with this. First, a revolutionary is never satisfied. Let me say that. However, In fact, I said to Ryan Coogler, I said, a revolutionary is never satisfied, but damn, this move, I'm a realist. A lot of people have, they've been critiques and struggles with, should have done this, it should have done that. When you recognize what you're dealing with, and I'm even flashbacking on some of the battles and struggles, and not battles with individuals, but the politics of of the history of movie making. You know what I'm saying? I still tell them at nighttime sometimes, cut, stop, but to get this, what we say, to be able to plant Panther Cub political pills in the applesauce, and to be the dream team, you know what I'm saying? And there's certainly forces that were involved that people don't know about. I'm just you look at the fact, the type of conversations that are happening now. Just even with the release of the trailer, you know what I'm saying? That is. You know what I'm saying? Even how some people say, there are documentaries that actual footage of Chairman Fred. However, let's be realistic about what we do at the stage of our community and this powerful piece of propaganda. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited. It's therapeutic. You know what I'm saying? I've been for those individuals who I had struggles with, principal struggles. There was some times on set there was certain people say, man, we couldn't talk. You know what I'm saying? But Kugler, let me say that his role again. I was about to talk about. We were talking. We was about this was one thing we was no go at the movie, and him and his wife was right here, Zenzi. So we clicked. We like one of those moments we crossed each other's face for a minute, and we remember when we met each other before this. You know what I'm saying? Years back in Oakland, California, actually the Berkeley Flea Market. I was passing out flyers. And at the same time, we said it simultaneously. Man, I know I remember you. This young visionary. He's this cat. And I was, there was some other forces, other forces who was on, to be able to connect that time. People say, "What about a series?" I said, "I look forward to it. If we able to get this dream team, you know what I'm saying? I'll be with it." And then again, revolutionary is never satisfied. But we got. I'm charged up. And a lot of people say, well, the movie didn't do that. What role it's upon us as organizers? You know what I'm saying? To continue
community organizers, right?
I tell people, I use the analogy, I say, there's be a time, some of the youngsters probably remember this, they say the Isley Brothers music helped set the mood. I say, now, yeah. They say the Isley Brothers, the music was responsible. There's a lot of children, babies people being produced. But it wasn't on them to actually engage in, I know it's an old-fashioned word, the courting process. That's upon the, you know what I'm saying, the individuals, you know what I'm saying, but to help set to help enhance the mood, you know what I'm saying. You can say, okay, the music, the lights, so even the type of movies, and we seen during this the Black Power movement in the '60s, the ante was up. When you had to work with, you had to. When Minister Huey P. did an assessment of Melvin Bad People, Sweetback's Badass song, of the political assessment of it. There are so many political people. I mean, the straight out say COINTELPRO assassination. You know what I'm saying? To acknowledge that, I'm charged up. I'm charged.
Every time I hear that word COINTELPRO, which most young people today don't have it resonate with them as deeply, it makes me cringe. I'm going to segue a little bit on where we are today. We are in the wake of hashtag George Floyd, hashtag Black Lives Matter, diversity and inclusion. I'm going to kick this off with your own words because most people don't know that you're a poet as well. So it's a lot different than just being in your genes to be the son of such a wonderful orator. But this is Chairman Fred Hampton Jr.'s poetry as written in the foreword for a book I just released. This is a foreword poem. The people, poetry, and pain, the release of the words of a daughter whose daddy had just been previously released. A lady with a DNA ingrained and intensified by recognizing that both parents, much more than at one time, had been behind enemy lines. The people, poetry, and pain, they say to hold it in could be toxic. And what will you say after engaging and relating with the release of words through Yvonne Malika Ora's optics? What is a designated way in order to deal with death? What words accurately articulate one's pain when neither father or mother are no longer physically left? With revolutionary love and respects, we position that the people's pain reflects. And now let us read and grieve with the words of a rare breed, ingrained with the people, poetry, and pain, and DNA of Part Panther and that of a move seed. Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., Black Panther Party Cubs. So one, I want to thank you for that poetic foreword. And it's very deep meaning for young people today, for young adults, for those adults that have gone through the civil rights movement. How do we achieve racial healing? How does this forward movement poem set the tone for where we need to look now to become a healed nation of collective people?
It is important. I reference legacy a lot. And we said legacy is more important in our life. A lot of forces we have to deal with. A lot of people in our community have a reactionary position. It's some cats who I reference at times was my Plan B cats. Sometimes they be under the mindset this is the first time that we're fighting back, and people say, well, at least they're fighting back. I said, no, there's a setback with that. It breeds, it sets the stage for arrogance and not. And so, like you can look at a lot of these children cases, like up until now. In recent history, when the police come at them, a lot of them actually be shocked. You understand? And people like, I can't believe the police done this. So like, we're like, what do you think the police do? Like, I mean, they be literally shocked. I'm honored. I feel fortunate even to provide those words. And I think it's important. Again, the legacy of where we come from, and again, not just the attacks, but that of the resistance. The sister who played Jake Winter's mother in the movie. I talked to Alicia Joy Powell. She talked to her, and I remember, and I was telling her. I was talking to her. She said, "I didn't know this." She want to talk to Jake Winter's family till we connect them, and she said something. Yeah, like about she referenced in a vague way, Philadelphia about the bomb being dropped. In May 13, 1995.
Right. I gotta stop you again. Every time we know a historical reference that's near and dear to us and our actual family, we have to keep in mind that, as viewers tuning in, they may not know what May 13th, 1985 is, or quote unquote, the bombing. And so for those that don't know what he just referenced, it's an organization called the MOVE Organization, based out of Philadelphia, mostly renowned for a bomb being dropped on the headquarters of the MOVE organization on May 13th, 1985. That bombing was led by officials, the mayor, a Black man at the time, Mayor Wilson Goode, with the approval all the way up to CIA, FBI, to bomb the headquarters. That fire spread throughout the entire neighborhood. 11 men, women, and children were murdered trying to escape the home. The only survivors were Ramona Africa and a young boy named Bertie Africa, who has since passed on. Included in that 11 men and women that were murdered was my half-sister, Delisha. So it is real. It happened. Prior to that, there was a raid on the MOVE headquarters because they did not like their philosophy of life, of sustaining yourselves and not relying on capitalistic ways. They had a raid in 1978 in which the infamous MOVE 9, including my father, were politically imprisoned all the way up until last year for up to 42 years. They each got a 30 to 100 year sentence. All 9 men and women charged with the unfortunate killing of a cop who was killed by friendly fire. So this movement has existed much longer than what we know on, the March on Selma. In the background, in the clouds, with a lot of media and propaganda and misnomer from what has actually occurred. So when we have a Black Lives Matter movement, we have monies that corporations are doling out to this movement. We have now a movie displayed by Daniel, very aptly, I might add, of your father, telling us we are all revolutionaries. How do we become that? How do we know that that's what we are? How do we activate the activism within us today, Chairman Fred?
We do not negate examples that we've had with the U.S. When they go to West Point, when they go to training, they reference General Patton, the morale. This sister, when she's mentioned in the vague way, when I call Mike Africa, who was born inside the concentration camps, the prisons, the concentration camps, she was like, "Wow, you know them?" And it was she was inspired, just the connection. When I said in the poem about the rare breed, I mean, there's an attempt to have our real models detach from us. They're not relatable. That's one thing we have to do with our people. Again, when we say turn the communities into classrooms, that we must distinguish, as Minister Huey said, distinguish a revolutionary from a hero. A hero from a revolutionary. We amongst the people. And the people are our best resource, you know what I'm saying? And again, we have to make it common, the struggle. It's second nature, not just wait till February comes around, not till election time comes around. And again, it's second nature to resist, you know what I'm saying? Again, and again, look at really struggle to look at the templates that we have them. I told a lot of young cats, I just see what these Luciano and Al Capone on the t-shirts and blazers on t-shirts. I say, man, y'all got cats that come from cats that come from our community, our people. You know what I'm saying? That some are still, a lot of them are still alive, who still locked up. You know what I'm saying? So that alone, that is inspiring. I can't tell you how much Field Marshal George Jackson, reading Solidad Brother, had impacted me when I was locked up. You know what I'm saying? The sister told me, she said she was New York. She said she was the blood. She said, when she read different stuff about, the sisters, how old they were, she was able to relate to it. We got to take that and, again, connect it to what's going on right here today.
Thank you. One of our viewers asked, there's a movie coming out in March about Mutulu Shakur, and whether or not you have any involvement with it or, plans to see it. Are you aware of that film?
I'm not familiar with it. And let's be on the head. I'm gonna say this too. Let's hold free Dr. Mutulu Shakur, free Imam Jimmy Alameen. Let me say that, free them all. But let's make sure we don't get comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Again, the trailer you just showed, I'm recalling, how many times that we had, Daniel had to do that. They walk back up to that door, you know what I'm saying? We emphasize about, chairman's walk, you know what I'm saying? The emphasis on certain, this is like, we got to be attentive, like a grandmother with her recipe. When she go in that old index card and then pull the box up, she said, no, I said, drop this and that, you know what I'm saying? And we're not gonna win all the different dynamics, but the core, certain things that we must push. So those, again, a legacy, you know, and we want to be able to define the phenomenon. This whole discussion of propaganda is, let's use it, but again, let's make sure we hold tight and do not get lax and say, okay, let the movie industry has a job to do, and we're fortunate to have certain force. I'm sitting right now with the brother attorney, Khalid Muhammad. I'm flashbacking. People around us get to wear different hats, so there was struggles with different people. I remember calling my mother 3, 4 in the morning, calling members of the party. You know what I'm saying? Just for morale support and also input. So we must distinguish a war from a revolution. The war, you get two occupying armies. You set those. You know what I'm saying? This is your role. This is your role. A revolution gain the minds of participation of the masses of the people. So again, let's take this energy people don't do in these movies. But again, let's make sure we be on point to make sure that we cross some T's and dot them I's.
I'd be remiss if I didn't note that we have our own struggle going on within our communities, struggles that we create and continue to permeate, whether it be through crime and violence against our own people. Tell us a little bit about your father's legacy in quelling violence and uniting different factions together, such like what we saw in the movie. How does that relate to us today?
There were certain things that I struggled And I, in fact, we had turned down working with the movie because there were certain things that initially they wanted to put in. I said, no, this can't. If this goes in, this has to be in. This has to be inclusive. And because there are certain situations of such a historical nature, it was pulled off. So I mean, actual meetings that Chairman Fred had with certain organizations, that if you miss one beat, it can take away the significance of it. So there was a balancing act. And a structure of acknowledging and coming in. Like I tell people, when I meet with different people, I don't come in romanticizing.
Right.
I've had meetings with some of the actual biological children of some of the people that Chairman Fred had to meet with. And so we had some contradictions. And I tell you, when I go to a meeting, there's no foregone conclusion. I'm coming out, everybody's coming out. I'm committed. There was a joke they made about me in prison. They say, man, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., he goes to the Muslim service, Hebrew service, disciple meeting, vice lord meeting, stone meeting, and still come out as Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. So that our structure in our community has been destabilized. We add on to the old saying, which is God created Africans and America made niggas. We say that the marriage of the machine manufactured Chirac, which our communities have been destabilized. One of America's policies is to create chaos. You know what I'm saying? And then restore order. There's a reason why Chicago was the last major city that crack cocaine was brought in. They had to give up certain forces. Fluky Stokes had to be murdered. Chief Malik had to be in prison. It was certain. They have stabilized our structure. You know what I'm saying? It was a time growing up, I can walk my block blindfolded and tell you who stayed in which house. Now every day, I don't know who was where. This was something when I was in prison they would do when we were organized. We knew which gallery was, even though we had contradiction. We said that gallery is the Latin Kings, that gallery is this, that's the other gallery with the behavior that we don't approve. That goes on down there. Then they start attacking us. They destabilized us. So you come out the cell, you go, who is that? What is that? What is that? So it's hard to organize. So we are destabilized. We have to acknowledge that. So we have to fight for a structure, and that's hard because I think we don't want to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that we can't speak French too much at the wrong times. In other words, we just say we have to acknowledge their differences.
Our sister in Philly, Michelle, taking one of your quotes that God created Africans and America created niggers. You know, it is unfortunate that we've had, just racial discord for as long as we've had, when we have our forefathers, our ancestors that, led the way through the civil rights movement. To a young person today, they have access to everything, technology, social media, the whole nine. How do we unify in a different way that led to the anger behind the protests that we saw after the murder of George Floyd? How do we take that energy and recalibrate it, so to speak, back into our community?
I said initially with the movie, before this climate we're dealing with now, the coronavirus, the pandemic, I had said it's going to be difficult for a lot of these cats to relate to the importance of a free breakfast program. On the set, I had this discussion. They said, why you say that? I said, a lot of these children are going to be like, why would they have a free breakfast program? Why they just didn't order Grubhub? You know what I'm saying? You were talking about, so it's we're at a stage in the game with people we dealing with. We always been dealing with death every day, but it's acknowledged. We have to seize the time. We have to see what's phenomenal. We have to acknowledge that, the impact of people, a generation that plays video games and can do 20 murders and then press restart and get right back, get right back. But we have to struggle at some point the rubber meets the road. A lot of these youngsters, I've seen them in Cook County Jail, literally sobering up, from the different forms of chemical biological warfare, the type of drugs they're hitting them with. And saying, what did he mean 80 years? You know what I'm saying? And just grasping it right then in court. Yeah. And I've seen the faces of them. We have to keep our ear to the ground and study them, study our people. What's phenomenal. And sometimes, we make, there are no perfect allies, no ideal situations, no gift wrap revolution. This brother who's like a point person for Waka Flocka, I remember him telling me Waka Flocka was a hip hop artist, rapper. And I remember when I approached him, and as soon as I walked up on the street of Chicago, he said, whoa. He said, I know who you are. I heard you'll be coming. He said, 1 minute.
Whoa.
He said, 1 minute. He called for this brother. So the brother came from behind. Brother said, hey, brother, he said, Chairman, I'm Big D. He say, I did 10 years. He said, I used to walk the yard with Sunday out at Coley, long-held political prisoner. He say, man, we talking, and I talking about the code, the coach, and everything. He say, man, that night, Waka Flock had a performance at a place called Adriana. And I remember Big D asking me, we was going backstage. He say, how do you do this? How do you be, I be hearing you about you dealing with these different, you be the rappers and you go, he said, I be tired. I don't want to go back to somebody backstage and that. I say, I can't just drink Aquafina water, man. I got to deal with the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm designated. I said, we got to go. This is a war. We fight for the minds and hearts of the people. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we got to do. And it's not always pretty. You know, so we got to do certain moves. I said, if you ask some women what they would do, you ask what they would do for their children, you should get a different answer. You ask me what I would do, what I do for this struggle, our people. You know what I'm saying? I'm a servant. You know what I'm saying? We have to study the people and see what moves can we do. You know what I'm saying? The old African proverb, what's good for the family may not be good for the community. What's good for the community is good for the family and the community.
That's right. Let's talk about some pointed, targeted exercises that we can do as a community, young and old together, intergenerational love for the preservation and sustainability of our community, particularly around racial healing. I know that, we have a lot of talk about restorative justice and peace circles. Tell us on some of the points of the 10-point platform that would resonate with the community to help bring about racial healing.
Let's go with some of the campaigns we have, which get them, take them through like different steps. For example, like in regards to the man on the points of the 10-point platform, demanding the release of all political prisoners. We have a campaign.
Oh, I'm sorry, Fred. We just jump into this stuff. Yeah. Tell them what the 10-point platform is. We know what it is.
10-point platform. A 10-point platform was a platform that addressed the basic needs of the people. Everything ranging from contradictions, in particular about that of the police brutality, we refer to the police terrorism in our community, and it drew to that of the what was a intense pressing contradiction at that time, the draft, in which Black people in particular were being swept up and saying, okay, you either go to jail or you're going to fight for this country. So at that time, it addressed that. It addressed the basic needs. It called for a plebiscite. In other words, a world vote. Like, what do the people want? The party was not dictating to the people. They said, let's have an actual plebiscite where the people can say, what are your thoughts? It addressed the educational system. You know what I'm saying? And it also exposed it, conditions in the prisons. And these are the basic needs and aspirations of the people. So with that, I'm saying in that spirit, we have certain campaigns today. We have to win people to that stage. You know what I'm saying? We know things are constantly advancing as well as being set back. So the draft is something now that people say, what's the point? I don't understand. A lot of people can't relate to the draft, but it was a pressing concern at that stage in the game.
Now we can relate to being drafted into criminal-like activity, the fast money-making type of way of being, and how that too causes, racial discord and separates us as a people rather than unifying us. How does the 10-point platform point to the unification of our people?
We want to get them with theory and practice. We offer what we call the one prisoner, one contact campaign. We offer that to them. What that means in essence is one prisoner, one contact campaign is at any given time, everyone should be able to give us a status check on some particular prisoner. You know what I'm saying? If they're in isolation, where the ID number is. I'm talking about just in general in the community. What's happening? Man, oh yeah, Sunday out of Coley, he just moved him. He just got denied for parole. Okay, what's happening? Rochelle St. Q McGee, blah, blah, blah. What's happening? Mumia Abu Jamal, some health issues right now. On a flip, on a dime. So everyone should have we said the one prisoner, one contact campaign. And if the relationship is reciprocal, you know what I'm saying? This should be where people can, some of our resources. You look at the updates that Mumia Abu Jamal gives from behind enemy lines. They are there, so the people can also benefit. We have the code of culture. The code of culture is we say there are too many of us in Sing Sing for some cats to be talking about some bling bling. You know what I'm saying? We win artists. to up the ante, some point of unity. You know what I'm saying? We've seen it at the Dave Chappelle Block Party when I came on stage and to talk about political prisoners. We've seen it. I do drops on different artist songs. We've seen it even. There are some struggles, but even on the soundtrack with this movie, Judas and the Black Messiah, we get, you know what I'm saying, certain, a lot of people are mind blown about some struggles we had with Jay-Z some years back, about him saying he arrived the same day Fred Hampton died. And now on this piece, he's talking about, acknowledge, assassinated. So that's the code of culture. We bring people to certain points of unity. We have the educational ethic, where people should not just go to school and engage in training. Make it a class project to work on what's happening in Hunters Point, San Francisco, a class project to work on the C numbers in Illinois, class project to update on the campaigns, the status of political prisoners. You know what I'm saying? We have the code of conduct. We tell cats on the streets, hey, we realists now. We realists. However, certain things are a no-go. You know what I'm saying? So that's the code of conduct. So we have to meet them where they at and say, okay, this is, you say, I can't be no revolutionary, but everyone should be able to commit a revolutionary act. So even we up the ante in the streets, the music industry, the barbershops, the pool hall, and even our relationships, how we define ourselves. Chairman Fred used to say, a best dressed brother is one with a leather jacket in 45. It opposed to a climb a lot of us grew up in, it was who's hustling the hardest. You know what I'm saying? That impact even our view of each other, our definition of beauty. So we got to look at struggle. It's beautiful. I mean, they say when people come in selling Panther papers all day, they be a little musty up under the arms. Chairman Fred said, "Man, that's functional funk. It's functional funk."
So on that note, just a couple of takeaways before I bring Ms. Smith back, who is the Executive Director of Cornerstone Community Development Corporation. That is the entity that is bringing this important discussion to all of you via Facebook Live and YouTube by way of Healing Illinois, supporting this grant effort. Here are some takeaways. Both Chairman Fred and I are certified community organizers outside of us just being community organizers by way of our parentage, our lineage. I encourage you to have these types of conversations in your community, in the barbershops, in the beauty salons, as you connect with people, even with social distancing. Let's have these upfront talks about what racism is and what you think it is not, whether or not it is as prevalent as it has been, or if you yourself are in a bubble. And this goes and transcends beyond, your ethnicity. Everyone has an opportunity to become a revolutionary. Mostly you'll see from the historical references to the MOVE organization, as well as the Black Panther Party. Two different factions, two different philosophies, but both about the upliftment of our people. There is an opportunity for us to come together. There's an opportunity for us to hold our own peace circles, to embrace those that have been impacted by juvenile sentences, the penal system, those impacted by hunger, as he stated with the free breakfast program for youth. Everyone cannot afford Grubhub. And so to this day, we have organizations like Real Men Charities. They are running the free breakfast program right now, 7 days a week for youth. Every single day, free breakfast so that our kids can get a hot meal so they can think and be functional as they're continuing their education, whether it be in classrooms or online. So I thank you very much, Chairman Fred, my brother, near and dear to my heart. On the move, all power to the people. And at this time, I'll bring back Ms. Smith. Angela?
Yes.
Right on.
Thank you, Chairman and Yvonne, for a very informative discussion centered around racial inequality and oppression that unfortunately many of us have endured, as well as how we can work toward change. This is the first of a series of discussions as part of Cornerstone CDC's Healing Illinois program. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion and that you will join us again on Tuesday, March 2nd for a panel discussion centered around racial inequalities again, with Chairman Fred, Yvonne Orr, and Leonard Noble, who is a well-known and respected activist, community organizer, and entrepreneur in the Chicagoland area. The flyer with all details will be distributed later today. Please save the date, March 2nd, same time, and same channel. Thanks again to all of our guests, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Love you, sis. Thank y'all.